This episode brought to you by change. No, I don't mean the clink of a couple pennies in your pocket. I mean life change. You can't avoid it. It's going to find you wherever you are. So why not jump right in and try change today? Be the first one to make a move. Don't let change come your way. Try moving. Try renovating your house. Try finding a new job. Either way, bring change into your life now by using the promo code Hand of the Human and get a little bit of life change for you today. Again, Hand of the Human to get change in your life today. Let's hit that theme song. Oh, nice. We're going for like existential vibes. Hannah. Hannah the human. I can get down with it. Get down. I'm headed west. I'm headed to a summer of fun out in Idaho, and then I'll be coming back to my apartment in the fall, and I'm going to pack everything up and leave Sioux City. So I've been thinking a lot about my time in Sioux City, Iowa. I'm finding that to fully embrace this next season that I'll be in, I need to look back and recognize what I'm losing and what I've gained over this last period of my life where I have called Sioux City home. It started nearly 2 years ago when I came out to Iowa the summer of 2022. And then I got my first apartment September 2022. I stayed there until March 2023, when I went out to Idaho and spent April, May, June, July, and part of August out in Idaho. And then I went back to Sioux City and I got a different apartment. Same job, serving at Red Lobster. I started working at Red Lobster as a server, by the way, back in July of 2022. I got the job there before I moved into town, so I was staying about 40 minutes outside of town with some friends in their camper. And then now here it is 2024, spring, almost summer of 2024, and I am headed back to Idaho for the summer months. June, July, and August. And then in September, I'll come back and my lease ends in October and I do not plan on renewing it. I currently am headed to Michigan to stop by and see some friends in the Grand Rapids area because that's where I think I would like to move when I leave Sioux City. And so I just kind of want to spend some time and look back at what I've learned by being out here in the armpit of Iowa. Sioux City for real really stinks. Like the river and the sewers, and I don't know what it is, but it literally stinks. Which all cities kind of have a bit more of a smell when they are on water, when a river goes through or something. Just the water can get, have some smells or whatever, but Sioux City is different. I mean, it has a strong smell. And basically the people who live in Sioux City are people who were born and raised in Sioux City area. People are always shocked when I tell them that I purposely moved here. Like I lived somewhere else and then I chose to come here. Which I actually didn't really choose to come here. I was thinking of going to Omaha, Nebraska, which is a more full of life city. It's bigger, it's got stuff going for it, but then just the way the cards fell and everything, I ended up in Sioux City, an hour and a half north of Omaha, Nebraska. And I'm actually really glad I ended up here in Sioux City. It put me a lot closer to the people that I knew in Iowa that lived out among the cornfields. If I had been in Omaha, I would have been, an hour and a half, close to 2 hours away from the people that have really grown me during this season. They've been what I call them, the Sabbath group people, because we get together on Saturday, our Sabbath day, and read the Bible and eat food. And I've had ups and downs with that group. Not that like I'm terrible or they're terrible, whatever. It was just difficult for me to be in a religious setting because I felt insecure, having different beliefs than a lot of people, feeling different than a lot of people, being told by different people in the group that I couldn't act or wear certain things, or, it's hard feeling like you're different. And before, I have dealt with feeling different by just trying to find a new group to fit in at, or by changing who I am or how I act or what I do to fit more with the group. And this time around, I really wanted to see how I could remain different and stay. That word stay, that really has been, like, I can visualize it in all caps, S-T-A-Y, stay. It's been my word for this season, for kind of the last year and a half, really, or even 2 years. And it became super strong and a focal point for me when I came back from Idaho last summer. And I signed a year-long lease with the apartment I'm currently in. I signed a year-long lease instead of a 6-month one because I saved like $50 a month, and because I thought this will make me stay. And that's something I've been wrestling with. Am I giving up on my lesson to be learned in this season? And am I trying to push away this word and this thing that is drawing me, this stage of life I'm in? Is there an opportunity to grow that I am pushing? Am I kicking that can down the road by not staying in Sioux City? Didn't I get a year-long lease so I would stay? And then I read a journal entry that, because when I do journaling, I write, what I'm thinking. But then there's times in my journaling where I try to listen to what the voice of love or what, God is saying to me. And in this journal entry about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, I was writing what I felt God was saying to me. And the thing I read that I felt God was telling me back then rang true now. It said, if you try to settle, you will end up settling. So just focus on creating a life you love. And so my surrender to the word stay hasn't been perfect, obviously. I realized that I made some decisions, like signing a year-long lease, out of this idea of like, I'm going to make myself stay or settle, rather than out of an honest desire to live a life I loved. And I've made some decisions under the banner of stay that were from a wonderful place, like how I came back from Idaho last summer when I was like, I am leaving Sioux City. There's nothing here for me. And then I ended up coming back. I came back aware of everything Sioux City was and wasn't, and I was choosing it in this season for all that it could and couldn't give me. And I feel like that was really beautiful. I acknowledged that there wasn't a lot of music or creativity or cool things to do in Sioux City. I also acknowledged I had a great job and coworkers and managers I loved to hang out with and enjoyed, and a good economy. I can afford a studio apartment by myself that's really nice, and I can pay my bills and still have enough money to travel and go on trips and afford a decent car, and a religious, spiritual faith community of people that I've known for close to a decade that I feel a pull to continue to be in relationship with, despite differences and despite me feeling uncomfortable a lot of times. Yeah, it's been a season. I was telling my dad this when we were talking on the phone earlier today. It's been a season where I've been able to lean into discomfort that I know is good for me, because there's been past times in my life where I forced myself to stick with something that I knew I didn't like, and I was like, hey, but quitters don't get the reward. And so I've learned from that I just should have quit. That there's times when the pain, the difficulty is telling you something. It's saying, stop, quit it. And so I kind of sat in that time where I was like, I'm not going to force myself to do anything. I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm not going to abandon and, abandon myself or not care what I want. I'm going to pay attention to what my body, my mind, my emotions are saying. And then once I kind of got more clear on, okay, my voice does matter. I can listen to and respect myself. Then after that, it was like, okay, now I feel like I have some capacity to deal with some pain, to deal with some discomfort, and not just deal with it, but lean into, okay, my emotions are saying run away, kill them. Okay, I don't need to do necessarily that. I can listen to what they are bringing up inside of me, and then I can choose to respond in a manner that's going to grow me. And I've had to do little baby steps. And whenever I feel the feelings and the pressure of, well, you should do this, Hannah. Like, for example, Hannah, you should stay in Sioux City because you signed a lease and you are going to stick with your job. And if you keep just wandering all over the earth and having fun and doing what you want, then you're never going to get the good life you want. When that voice pops up inside of me, I've learned, okay, I don't listen to that pressure. Because something shifted a few years back after I learned my lesson that you got to quit sometimes. The thing that shifted for me is I care more about the attitude and motivation of what I'm doing than the thing that I'm doing. Not that what I'm doing doesn't matter. Like, it's true. If I go on jogs and exercise and stretch, then my body will feel better. So in a way, somebody could say, well, it doesn't really care if you want to go on a jog or not. You just got to go. But guess what? If you live your life saying, oh, I don't want to exercise, but I'm going to do it. Oh, phew, I finally did the jog. Oh, I'm exhausted. Well, I'm doing it right at least. You're going to burn yourself out. But if you do it from a motivation of, oh, I genuinely want to go on a jog. Maybe I feel a little tired today and I don't feel necessarily motivated at this exact moment to go jog a mile, but, oh, I know I genuinely want this, and then you get up and do it and enjoy it. If we live life from that motivation will sustain us to keep doing what is healthy. But if we do it from this place of lack, from this motivation of, well, I should, or the neighbor down the street does that, or this person who I'm supposed to care about their opinion, they think this, and somebody said I should eat this, then even if we do the thing like the jog or hanging out with friends or whatever is the thing that is healthy, I can just speak from my experience in my own life. I ended up not receiving any benefit from the, quote, beneficial things because I was like sabotaging myself with all these unfruitful motivations, unkind motivations, really. And so I've done things in little baby steps. And I've been giving myself permission to do things that seem less than adequate. For example, I exercise 3 times a week because that's doable, right? And by exercise, I mean do something for 10 minutes. I was like, okay, what's doable? Because I went through a phase where I was like really getting into running after COVID, and I ran 50 miles in the month of April of 2022. And I was like, okay, I kind of overdid the whole exercising thing. It got to be so big and time consuming that I ended up not sticking with it. And then you feel like a failure because, oh dear, you didn't stick to the thing that you said you were going to do. And I just wasn't having fun doing it. So I kind of just didn't do any exercising last winter. But then I realized I kind of want to feel a bit more active. So last fall, about 9 months ago, I committed to myself of like, what sounds doable? And so last summer really, I started 1 time a week doing a 10-minute core ab workout. That was just this video on YouTube. My twin sister Emma was doing it. So I did it 1 time with her, and I was like, wow, that actually was challenging, and that felt good doing that. And she said, yeah, I just do it 1 time a week. I mean, you can find 10 minutes in a week to do something. And I was like, okay, let me try this. And then for 4 weeks straight, I had done that. I had done a 10-minute ab workout, and I thought, this is great. And then I thought, you know what? I kind of want to get back into doing jogs. So I did a jog here and there. And then I thought, I want to jog twice a week. That sounds good. And in the past, I've done 1.5 mile jogs every few days, or 3-mile jogs and things like that. But this time I was like, you know what? I'm going to jog at least a mile on my jogs, and I'm going to do that twice a week because it takes me less than 10 minutes to jog a mile. So there we go. Another 10-minute exercise. I can fit that in somewhere. And I thought that's doable, 3 times a week, I work out for 10 minutes. And shocker, I was able to fit that in on my life, So then I'm building up confidence of this is great. I'm enjoying my exercise. I'm enjoying doing all this. And I'm succeeding in what I committed to. And I would get bombarded with these thoughts of oh, well, you should do more. So then I realized I wanted to be a little bit stronger in my arms because I wanted to be able to do a pull-up. So then I thought, you know what? I better start doing arm exercises to build arm strength. So I found a 10-minute arm workout with weights. I found that online last fall. And I said, okay, I'll do this once a week, but I'll add it to the day I jog. So I still am only exercising 3 times a week, but now one time it'll be jog a mile and do a 10-minute arm workout. And then I also found this stretch that I like. So I was like, oh, I'll do this 10-minute stretch after I do my ab workout. So that's one exercise day, 10-minute ab workout, 10-minute stretch. And then my other exercise is jog a mile, which takes me about 9 minutes. So I was like, cool. And I did that all winter. I mean, there were a few weeks when I was traveling or sick. I think total only three weeks for the last 9 months that I did not stick to this and exercise. And there might have been a couple weeks where I only did 2 exercises a week or something like that. But basically, I stuck to it. I did it. And I haven't not been able to do a pull-up yet, but I can do more of a pull-up than I used to be able to do. I can do a half to 3/4 of a pull-up, depending on how I feel. And I used to barely be able to do a 1/4 of a pull-up. So that's been cool. And there's times when I hear those voices inside of me say, or I feel just pressured of you really should do more. Are you really getting stronger by just exercising your arms once a week? Oh, I also do girl push-ups, the kind where you are on your knees. I do those morning and night when I can remember, usually about 5 or 6 days a week. I do as much as I can, which is usually about 20. Yeah, that's what I do. 20 girl push-ups in the morning, 20 at night. Because I can only do 5 regular push-ups. So this way it gets to exercise the full movement of a push-up more. Eventually, I'd like to get to doing morning and night 10 regular push-ups on your feet. But yeah, anyway, I've gone on talking about exercise, but just to share, it honestly is a lesson I've learned from being here in Sioux City, or not necessarily because of Sioux City will teach you to exercise. I'm not guaranteeing that. I'm just saying this idea of stay, S-T-A-Y, stay. I realized, wow, yeah, no, I'm staying with my commitment to exercise because I'm not overburdening myself, I'm not coming from this mentality of okay, I need to do a pull-up, and so I'm going to exercise my arms 5 days a week, and I'm going to do this and do that, and then you burn out. Instead, I would rather find myself exercising 20 years from now, saying, oh, wow, it took me 2 years to be able to do a pull-up or 10 push-ups or whatever, but guess what? I'm still doing them. I'd rather take 5-10 years to get somewhere and do it slowly and care about the process of getting there. And the process that I want to approach life with is one where I do not overwhelm myself with what I should do, but instead I get quiet and I try to pay attention to what I care about and what I'm actually committed to. Instead of, I've approached before this idea of commitment as oh, wow, well, you should be committed, so you should care about this, so I guess I care about this. And now I approach it more from the mindset of, let me actually figure out by looking at what I actually follow through on, what I actually care about. And then be very clear that that's what I actually care about. And then live according to that. So when I got quiet or just pay attention to my life, I'm oh, I actually when I sit with the idea, and by sit, I mean just like you ponder, you think about, it's on your mind. I think about, okay, a mile, running a mile, does that feel like overwhelming? No. Does that feel like too little? There's a part of me that thinks, no, you can do more. But what perspective is saying you can do more? It's the perspective of, come on, Hannah, you got to be better than you are. Oh, yeah, I don't really want to live from that mindset. So, yeah, a mile, jogging a mile. That sounds perfectly adequately sufficient. Boom. Now I figured out I'm committed to that. So you know what? I mean, even last week, it was Friday, and I had planned to go on a jog, and it was raining, and like really raining. And I thought, this will be fun, jogging in the rain. But then there was another part of me like, ugh. And then I get out there, and yeah, it's fun for the first few seconds. But then when my contacts feel like they're falling out of my eyes because there's so much rain running down all over my face, I thought, okay, I don't know that this is really a great idea. Maybe I just turn back now. But you know what? Since I actually genuinely am committed to running a mile when I say I'm going to go on a jog, I ran a mile. And I felt so great afterwards. And even in the process, I just embraced the rain. It was really fun. Splashed in some puddles. So, yeah, that's something I've learned from this concept of staying. And the thing I'm really proud of, though, is the way that I've stayed with certain religious things that triggered me. And by triggered, I mean gave me this feeling of like being super internally protected. Like, think about a porcupine. That's how my soul felt. Just like on edge, defensive, annoyed, easily angered by something that really shouldn't bug me. But oh my gosh, that one person said that one thing and now I'm bugged out of my mind and I can't listen. Really, this idea of defensiveness, though. And I would feel all of that in certain religious settings or around certain topics or reading certain Bible verses. And I just found a few coping mechanisms. Like, I remember I got a coloring book and some pencils, and I would just color while the Bible study was going on. And that way I could kind of disengage from what they were talking about and also listen. And I would pay it a lot more attention during the meals, the times when I liked hanging out with everybody and talking. And then it got to a point where I didn't need to color in my coloring book anymore because I could just listen to what people were saying. And then I kind of put in my 2 cents. But then I felt like whenever I put in my 2 cents, nobody listened. And I would ask a question and then everybody would just not answer my question. They would just tell me their opinion on something. And I was like, I genuinely just want to know about this concept. But it feels like you're more just trying to shove your ideas down my throat. So that got me annoyed. And then this whole thing came up about people got upset about this thing I did. I was performing for a fun show and stuff, and I thought it was funny, but they're more conservative and didn't think it was funny because it was a rock song, and people who aren't in religious context are going to be like, what the heck? But people who have been in religious conservative environments are going to be like, oh my gosh, that annoying crap. And you're going to get it. But anyway, I experienced that and I really got hurt. And so as I've processed that over the last few months, I realized, wow, I got super hurt because it was this experience of feeling like, okay, I can finally trust this group with who I am. And then they didn't like who I was. That was the experience I had. And I processed through that and got to a point where I could validate my own opinion, meaning like I was able to have my opinion that I think what I did was okay, even though other people didn't like it. And also, I could acknowledge that other people can have a different opinion than me. If I want people to give me permission to live life how I want, then I can give permission to other people to live life how they want. And so, yeah, I'm really proud of myself for doing stuff like that, where I easily could have just backed away and got angry and just been defensive and give in to the feelings of shame or whatever, but I didn't. And it was super cool because I was able to have a conversation a few weeks ago with the people that I really did not see eye to eye on things with. And I was able to share exactly what I just shared right now of why I got so frustrated, why I got annoyed, why it is a bigger deal than it seems like it should be to me, that they disagreed with what I did. Because, by the way, the people telling me like, hey, we didn't appreciate that, were just like, they were the leaders of the event that I was at where I did the performance of the rock song. So, like, they weren't telling me what I could and couldn't do. They were just saying like, hey, we don't feel like that was appropriate for our event. And like, people should have that permission. Even if I think that they're wrong, even if I think that their logic is dumb, it's their event, you know? So anyway, I shared with them like why I got so mad and defensive and protective about this. And they were able to be like, oh, that makes sense. Okay. And we weren't trying to make the other agree with the other person. We were just listening. And that was nice. I never thought that I would have that type of conversation with those people. But I did because of, you guessed it, STAY, staying. And I'm so happy for myself that I've learned these things and taken these steps and stayed, because before I didn't know in my life a way of staying with something without it being abusive to myself, meaning staying in a safe way. Now, I haven't ever been abused or mistreated, thank God, and I've never been in terrible situations. But I use that strong language because the logic of, oh, well, you got to stay with something, you got to be committed to it, that logic has kept women in unsafe marriages. That logic has kept people at jobs that are not kind to them. That logic has kept family members staying, taking care of other family members. I was just talking to a friend a little while back about this. When there isn't mutual respect. In my life, the abusive, self-abusive way of staying manifested for me as participating in a bunch of programs and meetings and groups that I didn't actually really want to be a part of. Other people were into it, but I wasn't. And yet I valued what they said was important over what was actually important to me. And that is not a good kind of staying. And so that's why I'm so proud of myself that I have learned another way to stay. It's the slow baby steps. It's living from a place of safety, living from a place of security, and then taking little ventures out from there. You know? Like, think about a kid. You don't take a 2-year-old and say, well, you know, life's going to give you a lot, so all right, here you go. I'm going to put you in a train and send you off to downtown of some city, and you're going to fend for yourself, little 2-year-old. No, we raise a 2-year-old in a safe home environment where they know everybody, and you've child-proofed your house so they can't walk off a balcony and die or whatever. And then, you know, you take them to the park and they feel a little scared. Oh no, mommy, help me. And you're like, you can slide down the slide. And then they do, right into your arms, back into safety. And you're like, yes, you did it. And over years and years and years of that little 2-year-old becoming a 3, a 10, a 16, and a 17, a 21-year-old, now they're little ventures that used to be, I don't think I can slide down the slide. Oh, but I did. And mommy was there to catch me. Then those ventures become, I didn't think I could start this business, but I did. And yeah, that's what I mean by living from safety. So the things I am taking with me from my season of Sioux City on to the next, a few of them are, 1, there is no perfect group, no perfect place, no perfect community. Specifically with the group, people, community part, it's just a matter of time till I get let down. But I say that from a totally hopeful, secure, happy place where I'm no longer looking for, you know, a church experience or a community or a friend group to satisfy me. Or, well, I am looking to be satisfied by the experience, but I'm no longer looking for that satisfaction to come via 0 difficult conversations or tough moments. I've now learned that that security and that enjoyment of something comes, specifically of a group of people, comes by me communicating, by me being honest, authentic, processing through things. And it's messy and worth it. This makes me actually very present and aware to the things that I am losing by leaving. Because there's a grief process whenever we go on to new adventures. It doesn't make the adventures bad or negative or the wrong choice. Just that's what happens with change. There's always going to be joy and there's always going to be grief. And I'm very aware of man, I have worked hard for some relationships that I am now going to be living far away from. And I mean, we'll still be friends and connected, but it's different. It's not going to be the same when I live far away, when I don't see them as often. Even like with my coworkers. I remember when, almost 2 years ago, I showed up at Red Lobster. I mean, I was friendly and stuff, but looking back, I was shy. I didn't know people. They were out doing fun things and I wasn't out there, And it's man, I have invested and I have learned how to connect with my coworkers and go out when they're having a fun time, meeting, celebrating somebody's birthday or something. And now I'm going to start all of that over again at some new place. And I'm sad to be leaving the people who have been my almost daily companions over the last year and a half. These are the people I see almost every day. They're the people who hear about when I get poison ivy all over my body, or if I don't have enough money to make a rent payment. And, they're the people who we talk about, are you going to get the eyelashes, or are you going to get them done this week? Or, oh, you're saving money, you're going to do them yourself? Oh, well, tell me about that, They're the people that I talk about my life with and that we work together with. And they won't be those people anymore. And yeah, I just realized I've invested a lot of months into getting to know these different people. And they getting to know me. And now I'm going to start over. And I'm so grateful I did invest the time and energy to get to know everybody. And they're really awesome people. Connection is worth it. Even though connection means that you have more to lose. It's worth it. So I guess that's point number 2. Connection and investment are worth it. It was worth it for me to buy my teal couch. It was worth it for me to set up my studio apartment, even though I'm leaving it less than a year later. It was so worth it to spend hundreds of dollars on decorations and silverware or whatever else I spent that money on. I mean, I didn't spend a ton. I bought a lot of used stuff, but still, time and energy I invested into not just living in a space of bare walls and ugliness, but I put some of my personality into my space. I did not buy a bed frame, and I'm glad that I didn't because I'm moving again, so that was good on my part. But I made other choices to purposefully, instead of putting things off, saying, well, I'm going to move someday, so is it really worth buying the bookshelf? I bought the bookshelf. I bought the $10 one on Facebook Marketplace, an hour and a half, or half an hour away. I remember I drove and got it. It was snowing at the time. Anyway, so that's point 2. Connection and investment are worth it, even though it means you have more to lose and more to recover from, right? I'm glad that I signed a year-long lease or whatever. I mean, I kind of wish now I did the 6-month one, but it's worth it to me because I invested into being here and I was present where I'm at. And I'm going to take that with me wherever I go. Be committed, be invested, be present, be connected. I feel like, we always have to have third points when we talk about stuff, but I'm just going to do those too. And I'm going to be honest. I still have the desire. I mean, I read another journal entry from about 2 years ago because I was just looking over my past life of Sioux City here. And I still feel the same way as when I wrote 2 years ago. I want to wake up someplace and realize I've been there for 10 years. Oh, I would love that experience. I would just love it. So I move on, more change, but always with the hope that maybe where I'm going will be the place that I accidentally land at. And that reminds me of a poem I'm going to read. This poem is called A Home. The beach is a nice place to feel the waves that wash and never stop. And there's always more salt and more water. And the sand stays there and gets softer and softer because the water, as well, is stuck where it is, always moving, always coming home. So wherever you are and wherever you will be, peace out.